Have you ever seen those photos of India's jam-packed trains? You might think that's as crowded as it gets. Think again. There's a place where the chaos goes far beyond, where folks risk everything to snag a spot on a train, racing through impoverished rural areas or cramped cities. Here, traveling by train isn't just a mode of transport. It's a battle for survival. They're sprawled on roofs, hanging off sides, and even wedged in the tight gaps between train coaches. A train built for a few hundred ends up hauling thousands, like a pulsing human chain, cutting through harsh land. Worse, it's a place where every day is a scramble to stay alive amid poverty, injustice, and despair. People wade into toxic sewers without protective gear, scraping for bits of gold flushed away. A filthy, dangerous job, but it's their only means of survival, with no other choice. This is Bangladesh, saddled with the sad, grim label of the world's largest brothel. What's driven Bangladesh to this edge? Is this just the fate of a Muslim nation? Through 15 raw truths, we dive into a story of grit, faith, and a relentless spirit, where every step forward defies impossible odds. 15. A nation crushed by density. Bangladesh is a land where space is a luxury few can afford, cramming 170 million people into 147,570 square kilometers for a population density of 1,265 people per square kilometer, ranking 7th globally. In stark contrast, the United States, with 341 million people spread across 9.8 million square kilometers, has a density of just 35 people per square kilometer, 36 times lower, offering vast open spaces that Bangladesh can only dream of. Dhaka, the capital, is the epicenter of this crush, housing 21.7 million residents at a staggering 60,277 people per square kilometer. Streets choke with millions of rickshaws, yet only 60 traffic lights, most broken, attempt to impose order. Traffic jams stretch for 4 to 6 hours daily, a grinding reality that traps commuters in a cycle of frustration. This density shapes every aspect of life, from housing to jobs, creating a pressure cooker where survival demands ingenuity. Why do you think such extreme overcrowding persists in Dhaka, and what might it take to ease this burden? Once a prosperous region under Mughal rule, Bangladesh fell under British colonial exploitation after the 1757 Battle of Plassey, setting the stage for centuries of economic stagnation. Today, its infrastructure, like the 1917 railway system, creaks under the weight of modern demands, with little modernization to match its population boom. Have you ever been to Bangladesh or a place as crowded as it is? 14. Dhaka, a city of chaos and resilience. Dhaka is more than just a city. It's a vibrant paradox where chaos and resilience intertwine. Its streets, teeming with rickshaws and pedestrians, seem to defy any concept of organized traffic. With virtually no functional traffic rules, simply navigating Dhaka tests one's patience and nerve. This sprawling metropolis, encompassing 360 square kilometers, is a constant struggle for its millions of inhabitants, competing for space, jobs, and essential resources. Yet within this apparent disorder, Dhaka pulsates with an undeniable energy. Markets overflow with vendors, mosques resonate with prayers, and tight-knit communities form strong bonds in the face of relentless adversity. As the heart of Bangladesh's Islamic culture, home to 148 million Muslims, the city carries a profound spiritual dimension, particularly during the Dhaka Pilgrimage Festival. This event, the world's second largest Islamic gathering after Hajj, draws millions, transforming Dhaka into an immense and fervent expression of faith. In this travel documentary, Dhaka reveals itself as a microcosm of Bangladesh's broader challenges, a place where each day stands as a powerful testament to human endurance. The city's struggles, overcrowding, pollution, and pervasive poverty mirror the nation's own, yet its spirit remains unbroken, fueled by the enduring hope for a brighter tomorrow. 13. Legalized prostitution, a grim economic strategy. Since 2000, Bangladesh has legalized prostitution. regulating an industry that employs roughly 100,000 workers, including girls as young as 7. This policy, rooted in economic desperation, seeks to generate revenue in a nation where 22 million live below the poverty line. Brothels like Kandapara and Daulatia, under government oversight, stand as grim symbols of a system that commodifies human dignity to combat poverty. Women and girls, often trafficked or pushed by impoverished families, enter this trade to survive, facing relentless stigma, violence, and exploitation. The policy highlights a failure to tackle root causes, lack of education, job opportunities, and social safety nets, leaving vulnerable groups with no alternatives. Legalization has strengthened patriarchal and capitalist systems, benefiting brothel owners and the state, while female sex workers endure economic and sexual exploitation. Despite non-governmental organization efforts to provide healthcare and education for workers' children, social stigma and inadequate enforcement perpetuate the cycle of abuse. This harsh reality underscores Bangladesh's economic constraints, where survival often trumps human rights and dignity becomes a casualty in the fight against poverty. What do you think about Bangladeshi women? 12. The tragedy of child marriage. Bangladesh bears the grim title of Asia's highest child marriage rate, with 1/3 of girls wed before age 15 and 59% before 18. Poverty fuels this custom, as families see daughters as financial burdens demanding food, clothing, and hefty dowries. Marrying girls early shifts these costs, but at a devastating toll, education, autonomy, and childhood vanish. Many young brides, some barely teens, are thrust into households where they must serve not only their husbands but also their fathers-in-law, performing grueling domestic tasks and enduring patriarchal control. This dual servitude often traps them in cycles of abuse and subservience with little recourse. Dowries, typically gold, are cultural linchpins, with affluent families paying substantial sums to ensure better prospects for their daughters. In Dhaka's Tanjim Bazaar, 3,000 goldsmiths profit from this demand, but poor families, like Hassan's, borrow heavily or sell possessions to meet expectations, plunging deeper into debt. UNICEF reports that child brides face higher risks of domestic violence and health complications, with 22% giving birth before 15. Cultural norms and lack of enforcement perpetuate this crisis despite legal bans. Child marriage reflects Bangladesh's struggle with gender inequality, robbing girls of futures and chaining them to poverty's grip. 11. Train roof riding, a deadly gamble. The image of passengers perched on train roofs is synonymous with Bangladesh's transportation crisis. With interiors packed beyond capacity, many climb atop trains, braving a 2-meter-wide curved surface with no handrails at speeds of 30 kilometers per hour or more. A single misstep or rain-slick roof can be fatal. Low bridges and narrow tracks add to the peril, yet roof riding persists, driven by necessity and a lack of alternatives. Though illegal, authorities turn a blind eye, acknowledging the impossibility of enforcing bans amid such demand. Each year, falls claim lives, a grim toll that passengers accept as part of the journey. For young men like those selling snacks on train roofs, this precarious perch is a workplace, their nimble steps a dance with danger. This practice, born of overcrowding and poverty, is a haunting symbol of Bangladesh's systemic failures, yet also a testament to its people's willingness to risk everything for a chance at something more. 10. Slum life, trapped in despair. The sprawling slums of Dhaka, where a staggering 40% of the city's population is crammed together, serve as a harsh, in-your-face reminder of the deep-seated poverty that still grips Bangladesh. Take Korail, the granddaddy of them all. It's a mind-bogglingly dense world, packing around 322,000 souls into every single square kilometer. Imagine a landscape of pure filth, scurrying rats as common as pigeons in a park, and makeshift shelters cobbled together from whatever scraps people can find. While families like Hassan's might do everything in their power to avoid these grim zones, millions upon millions have absolutely no other option. They're stuck living cheek by jowl with mountains of festering garbage and the constant threat of disease lurking around every corner. basic necessities that most of us take for granted. Things like clean drinking water that doesn't make you sick, even halfway decent sanitation, and a reliable flicker of electricity are brutally scarce commodities here. This lack of the bare minimum traps the residents in a vicious, seemingly unbreakable cycle of deprivation that stretches from one generation to the next. You see kids, barely old enough to tie their own shoes, wandering through this squalor, desperately scavenging for scraps of food or trying to hawk cheap trinkets to passers-by. Their futures, already fragile, are further dimmed by the almost complete absence of educational opportunities. The sheer density of these slums isn't just a local problem, it's a stark microcosm of Dhaka's larger urban crisis, amplifying already significant health risks and contributing to a palpable sense of social decay. And yet, even within these incredibly bleak confines, the human spirit flickers stubbornly. Tight-knit communities somehow manage to form, people sharing their meager resources with a generosity that's both humbling and heartbreaking. They cling to even the faintest glimmer of hope for a better tomorrow. The stark, almost unbelievable contrast between the abject squalor of a place like Korail and the vibrant, bustling energy of Dhaka's markets perfectly underscores the deep and pervasive inequality that runs through the very fabric of Bangladeshi society, a powerful and recurring theme that echoes throughout this entire narrative of struggle and resilience. 9. Rickshaw pullers, the human cost of labor. In Dhaka's bustling streets, rickshaw pullers are the city's heartbeat, peddling 90-kilogram vehicles through unforgiving traffic. Earning about $3 daily, these Bangladeshi workers toil 7 days a week, their bodies worn down by relentless strain. Years of grueling labor leave many with crippling leg and back injuries, cutting life expectancy to an average of just 40 years. Living in cramped shacks provided by garage owners unable to afford proper housing, they pour their meager earnings into supporting families, often with dreams of funding their daughters' dowries and education to break the cycle of poverty. The physical and emotional toll of rickshaw pulling is staggering, yet it remains a lifeline for millions in a nation flooded with cheap labor. Constant traffic accidents and ever-present danger further shorten already fragile lives, but these pullers press on, driven by love for their loved ones. Their story, a cornerstone of this travel documentary, lays bare the human cost of Bangladesh's economic desperation, where survival hinges on daily sacrifice. 8. Child labor and lost childhoods. Bangladesh's poverty steals childhoods, with over 450,000 street children fending for themselves. Boys, like Atik, aged 7, sell food at train stations, racing against time to earn pennies before trains depart, supporting a father and siblings after their mother's death. Atik's life is a microcosm of the 33 million children living in poverty. Over half face extreme deprivation, with a 71.8% literacy rate among the poorest. Education, a distant dream, leaves many vulnerable to theft, violence, and exploitation. Girls fare worse, with 82.9% of street children facing abuse and 49.8% enduring workplace violence. These children, scavenging or laboring, embody Bangladesh's failure to protect its youngest. Yet their resilience, playing in groups or dreaming of better days, hints at an unbreakable spirit. How can a nation so rich in culture and faith fail to shield its children from such hardship? This question haunts the streets of Dhaka, where innocence battles survival. 7. Sewer gold panning, a toxic trade. In Dhaka's gold market shadows, Bangladeshi workers plunge into foul sewers to pan for gold dust, a desperate and deadly trade. Monthly, they endure rancid stench and toxic chemicals, dredging sludge from drains behind jewelry shops. The grueling process, filtering mud, dissolving impurities with acid, and heating mercury, produces mere grams of gold, worth $11 after days of labor. Split among small groups, each worker earns under $4, a meager reward for risking lung, brain, and liver damage. Without protective gear, these panners face shortened lives, yet they toil on, driven by hopes of funding their children's education. Once a viable trade, sewer panning fades as gold yields dwindle, with only 50 workers left in Dhaka. This toxic cycle pollutes waterways and poisons communities, amplifying poverty's toll. 6. Economic stagnation and foreign dependence. Bangladesh's economy, still heavily anchored in agriculture and the garment industry, sadly remains one of the least economically developed nations in South Asia. Having carried the United Nations least developed country classification for over half a century, it's significantly reliant on foreign aid, a dependence that really highlights the ongoing struggle for self-sufficiency. It's a tough pill to swallow when you consider that this region was once quite prosperous. The decline really took hold during British colonial rule, where the focus was squarely on pulling out resources rather than fostering any real internal development. Fast forward to today and you see industries like garment manufacturing, while a major employer, often operate by exploiting incredibly cheap labor. We're talking about folks working grueling 15-hour shifts for a pittance, sometimes as little as $2 measly a day. This inherent economic fragility is a major driver of persistent poverty, severely limiting the country's ability to invest in crucial areas like modern infrastructure or a robust education system. Now, on the international stage, Bangladesh has pursued a commendable peaceful foreign policy, and while that's certainly fostered regional stability, it also deepens its ties to external financial support. This reliance naturally raises some serious questions about national sovereignty and the true pace of progress. The big question hanging in the air is whether Bangladesh can truly break free from this seemingly endless cycle of dependence, or will it remain perpetually tethered to the ebb and flow of international assistance? The answer, it seems, hinges on some serious systemic reforms, a monumental and frankly daunting undertaking in a country grappling with the sheer scale of its population and its many complex challenges. It's a situation where the desire for progress is definitely there, but the economic realities create some pretty significant hurdles to overcome. 5. Infrastructure in crisis. Bangladesh's infrastructure feels like it's straight out of a history book, a colonial-era artifact utterly overwhelmed by today's demands. Take the railway system, practically untouched since way back in 1917. It's creaking and groaning under the strain of millions of passengers, making delays and breakdowns just another part of the daily grind. And don't even get started on Dhaka's urban planning, or rather, the distinct lack thereof. This sprawling city, a mere 140 square miles, is bursting at the seams with a staggering 21.7 million people. The result? Gridlock that eats up hours, sanitation that's frankly inadequate, and a power grid that throws more fits than a toddler denied candy. Meanwhile, slums just keep popping up, an unchecked symptom of a system struggling to cope. This failure to modernize isn't just an inconvenience. It amplifies the everyday struggles of ordinary folks, turning simple things like getting to work or finding clean water into major hurdles. Even something as fundamental as healthcare, which can run you about $5 to $6 per visit, is simply out of reach for most citizens when you consider the average monthly income hovers around just $30.50. This infrastructure crisis, a constant backdrop to every single story we're capturing for this travel documentary, effectively traps Bangladesh in a never-ending game of catch-up. The ambition and drive of its people are palpable, but the crumbling infrastructure acts like a lead weight, constantly holding the nation back from realizing its full potential. It's a stark reminder that progress can only go as far as the roads, the power lines, and the basic systems allow. 4. Health and safety, a sacrificed future. Labor in Bangladesh is a perilous gamble with health and safety. Rickshaw pullers, peddling heavy loads through chaotic streets, face chronic leg and back injuries, their bodies breaking down by age 40. Sewer cleaners inhale toxic fumes, risking lung, brain, and liver damage from acid and mercury exposure. Factory workers, mostly women, endure 15-hour shifts in garment sweatshops where collapsing buildings and fires have claimed thousands of lives. A 2013 factory collapse killed 1,134 workers, exposing the lack of safety standards. Street children, 82.9% of whom report abuse, toil in hazardous conditions, from scavenging to street vending. Healthcare, costing up to approximately $5 per visit, is unaffordable for most, leaving injuries and illnesses untreated. With no safety regulations or protective gear, Occupational hazards shorten lives, a silent epidemic eroding Bangladesh's labor force. Non-governmental organizations like the Bangladesh Rural Advancement Committee push for workplace reforms, but progress is slow. Workers accept these risks, driven by hope for their children's futures, embodying a tragic paradox. Resilience blooms, but at a devastating cost to health and longevity. 3. The plight of women and children. Women and children in Bangladesh endure the harshest weight of the nation's social struggles. Beyond child marriage, women face scarce opportunities, often funneled into prostitution or grueling low-wage jobs like garment work, earning as little as $2 daily for 15-hour shifts. Education, a key to empowerment, remains out of reach for most, with only 12% of girls in poor areas completing secondary school, perpetuating cycles of dependent. Children, especially girls, are profoundly vulnerable. 30.1% of street children face total deprivation, scavenging or laboring to survive. Boys toil to support families, while girls are wed early to ease financial burdens, often before age 15. These inequities, entrenched in poverty and patriarchal traditions, marginalize half the population, stifling progress. Yet glimmers of change emerge as parents sacrifice to educate daughters, defying norms in small but bold acts. Community programs, though underfunded, offer literacy and vocational training, planting seeds for empowerment. This struggle, woven into Bangladesh's narrative, underscores an urgent need for social reform to break the chains of inequality and give women and children a fighting chance for a brighter future. 2. The pilgrimage festival, Faith in Overdrive. Every year, Dhaka hosts a pilgrimage festival that rivals Mecca's Hajj in magnitude, drawing millions of Muslim devotees. This event is a spectacle of faith, but also a stark illustration of Bangladesh's logistical nightmares. Trains, the primary mode of transport, become human sardine cans, carrying thousands beyond their capacity. Passengers cram into compartments, spill onto roofs, and cling to the sides, risking death to fulfill a sacred duty. The railway, built in 1917 under British rule, is woefully outdated, with frequent breakdowns and unpredictable schedules. A 200-kilometer journey can take 6 hours or more, punctuated by 15 stops where crowds surge aboard, intensifying the chaos. For devotees preparing months ahead, the journey is a test of endurance, with no guarantee of a seat or even safety. The festival's scale, second only to Hajj, underscores Bangladesh's deep Muslim roots, but also its struggle to accommodate its faithful. How does such a massive gathering reflect both the strength and the strain of Bangladesh's cultural identity? The answer lies in the balance between devotion and desperation, where spiritual aspiration collides with physical reality. 1. Resilience and hope amid despair. Bangladesh's hardships do not tell its full story. Its people's resilience shines through relentless adversity. Across crowded cities and rural expanses, Bangladeshis toil in grueling jobs, pulling rickshaws, panning sewers, enduring chaotic pilgrimages, driven by dreams of brighter futures for their children. Many pour meager earnings into education, a beacon of hope in a nation where illiteracy traps millions. Parents sacrifice to send kids to school, breaking poverty's grip one lesson at a time. The Dhaka pilgrimage, a chaotic yet profound display of faith, unites millions, reflecting a collective spirit that defies despair. Community networks, from slum cooperatives to village mosques, foster solidarity, proving that hope thrives even in scarcity. What does it reveal about a people who, against crushing odds, still chase progress? Their unyielding spirit, captured in this travel documentary, hints at a future where possibility outshines uncertainty. As Bangladesh battles poverty, overcrowding, and systemic woes, its people's tenacity weaves a thread of optimism, suggesting change, however gradual, is within grasp. This travel documentary has peeled back Bangladesh's layers, revealing a land scarred by poverty yet pulsing with defiance. From overcrowded trains to toxic sewers, its challenges are stark, but so is its resilience. The nation's heart lies in its people. Parents dreaming of educated children, pilgrims seeking spiritual solace, workers enduring for family. Bangladesh stands at a crossroads, its future hinting on reforms to education, infrastructure, and equality. Yet, its greatest asset is clear, a spirit that refuses to break. As the world watches, Bangladesh's story reminds us that even in the darkest struggles, humanity's capacity for hope can light the way forward.